Here are the 8 contestants preparing for tonight's show. These people have already appeared on the daily Weakest Link and walked away as winners. This evening they've returned to play for double the money, £20,000. But 7 of them will leave with nothing as they learn what it's like to be voted the Weakest Link.
Weakest Link. Any of the 8 people in the studio here tonight could win up to £20,000. They don't know each other. However, if they want the prize money, they'll have to work as a team. Last time on The Daily Show, they all left as winners, but this evening, 7 of them will leave with nothing. As round by round, we lose the player voted the Weakest Link. Let's meet the team.
I'm Jo, I'm 20, I'm a student from Leamington Spa.
I'm Ed, I'm 55, and I'm a witness service coordinator from Merseyside.
I'm Emma, I'm 28, I'm a teacher from Donington-on-Bain in Lincolnshire.
I'm Ian, I'm 33, I'm an accountant from Southampton.
I'm Tom, I'm 27, I'm an advertising planner from London.
My name's Peter, and I'm a 49-year-old designer, originally from York.
I'm Margaret, I'm 51, I'm a housewife and carer from Dunstable.
I'm Maria, I'm 42, and I'm a publisher from Bromsgrove in Worcestershire.
Now, the rules. In each round, the aim is to answer enough questions correctly to reach your £2,500 target within the time limit. The fastest way to reach your target is to create a chain of 8 correct answers. Get your question wrong and you break the chain and lose all the money in that chain. But if you say bank before the question is asked, the money is safe. However, you start a new chain from scratch. We'll begin with the person whose name is first alphabetically. That's you, Ed. Let's play the Weakest Link. And the first question is for £50. Start the clock. Ed, in the human body, which mineral is important for strong teeth and bones?
Calcium.
Correct. Emma, which B can mean an old car or a British sausage?
Bangor.
Correct. Ian, Kempton Park is well known as a venue for which sport?
Horse racing.
Correct. Tom, in the Bible, which couples sewed fig leaves together to make coverings for themselves?
Adam and Eve.
Correct. Peter,
Bank.
in geography, is the city of Coventry to the east or west of Birmingham?
East.
Correct. Margaret, what G is the name of the force which causes objects to fall to Earth?
Gravity.
Correct. Maria, what is the equivalent British term for what Americans call a flashlight?
Torch.
Correct. Jo, someone who is eccentric is said to have what in the belfry?
Bats.
Correct. Ed, in pop music, Walk Like an Egyptian was a hit in 1986 for which band?
Pass.
The Bangles. Emma, according to a World War II propaganda slogan, careless talk costs what?
Lives.
Correct. Ian, which insect relies on its resemblance to a twig to escape predators?
Grasshopper.
Stick insect. Tom, in the children's rhyme, what was stolen by the Knave of Hearts?
Some tarts.
Correct. Peter, a moggy is a slang word for which animal?
A cat.
Correct. Margaret, is Tokyo behind or ahead of Greenwich Mean Time?
Ahead.
Correct. Maria, in fashion, what type of hairband derives its name from an 1872 Lewis Carroll novel?
Alice.
Alice band. Correct. Jo,
Bang.
excluding substitutes, how many players are there on each side in a game of basketball?
9.
5. Ed, in film, who played Obi-Wan Kenobi in Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace?
Alec Guinness.
Ewan McGregor. Emma, in politics, was Geoffrey Howe or Nigel Lawson Mrs Thatcher's first Chancellor of the Exchequer?
Geoffrey Howe.
Correct. Ian, which footballer's squad number at Manchester United is number 7?
David Beckham.
Correct. Tom, in church music, what H is a song of praise?
Pass, Banks.
Him.
Pass.
Peter, in education, a Wykamist is a pupil of which school?
Winchester.
Correct. Margaret, Madeira and Dundee are both types of which food?
Cake.
Correct. Maria, in TV, who recently took over as a host of the Antiques Roadshow?
Michael Aspel.
Correct. Jo, which
Bang.
18th century Italian lover was reputed to have seduced hundreds of women?
Casanova.
Correct. Ed, in literature, who wrote the plays Private Lives and Blythe Spirit?
Noel Coward.
Correct. Emma, In the animal kingdom, time is up. I cannot complete the question. And in that round, you banked £1,200. You could, of course, have won £2,500. Who do you think is coping badly with the pressure? Who is not up to the speed of the game? One of you is about to leave with nothing. It's time to vote off the weakest link.
Peter is the strongest link in this round. He got all his questions right and banked £500 for the team. The weakest link statistically is Ed. He got the most questions wrong and lost the most money. But how will the votes go?
Voting over. It's time to reveal who you think is the weakest link.
Tom.
Tom.
Ed.
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 Tom.
Ed.
Team, in that first round, you actually answered the first 8 questions correctly. So if you had had the nerve to hang on, you could have actually banked £2,500, which is, of course, your target. Ian, walking's one of your hobbies, is it?
Yes, it is, yes.
Right. Do you fall across many grasshoppers thinking they're twigs?
No, I guess I just thought they were twigs and stepped on them.
Why, Ed?
I think he got 2 wrong, which was more than anybody else.
You got 1 wrong, didn't you?
Yes, 1 is less than 2.
Tom. Why, Ed?
Ed got 2 wrong, both popular culture questions. Maybe that's a weak point for him.
Right, it's not a weak point for you.
Obviously questions about hymns are, but otherwise not for me.
Ed, with 5 votes, you are the weakest link. Goodbye.
Obviously, I'm very disappointed to be voted out on the first as the weakest link, but it was diabolical. All my friends will tell you that pop music will always be my downfall in quizzes, and sure enough, it did for me tonight. I think Tom will probably be the next to be voted off. He seemed hesitant and certainly got confused over the question about the hymn.
Round 2, team. You've won £1,200 so far out of a possible £2,500. 7 of you left. We are now taking 10 seconds off the clock. We'll start with the strongest link from the last round. That's Peter. Let's play the weakest link. Start the clock. Peter, in 1997, Scotland voted to have its own parliament based in which city?
Glasgow.
Edinburgh. Margaret, which planet of the solar system has only 2 moons?
Mars.
Correct. Maria, the house and garden of which impressionist painter is open to the public at Giverny in France?
Monet.
Correct. Joe, bathing in ass's milk was reputedly part of the beauty regime of which queen of the Nile?
Cleopatra.
Correct. Emma, in science, which N is a chemical element found in proteins but not in carbohydrates or fats?
Nitrogen.
Correct. Ian, in pop music, who had her 10th UK #1 in August this year with the song Music?
Kylie Minogue.
Madonna. Tom, in which country might you travel from New Plymouth to Auckland?
New Zealand.
Correct. Peter, does Queen Elizabeth II need a passport to travel abroad?
Yes.
No. Margaret, in nature, is the storm petrel a land bird or a seabird?
Seabird.
Correct. Maria, in film, who directed the 1960 epic Spartacus?
Don't know, sorry.
Stanley Kubrick. Joe, what kind of acid is found in lemons?
Acetic.
Citric acid. Emma, in the Middle Ages, the professional warriors of which country were known as samurai?
Japan.
Correct. Ian, Mount Elbert in Colorado is the highest peak in which range of American mountains?
The Rockies.
Correct. Tom, in maths, what is a third of 180?
60.
Correct. Peter, in the dog family, what jay is native to Africa and Asia and feeds on decaying flesh?
Jackal.
Correct. Margaret,
Bank.
complete the title of the long-running stage comedy No Sex, Please Wear What?
British.
Correct. Maria, in sport, what is the height of the crossbar in rugby union, 2 metres or 3 metres?
3 metres.
Correct. Joe, In literature, P.L. Travers, who died in April 1996, created which fictional nanny?
Pass.
Mary Poppins. Emma. In music, Shane MacGowan fronted which band in the 1980s? The Pogues, New Order or the Smiths?
The Pogues.
Correct. Ian. Which blood-sucking insect takes its name from the Spanish for little fly?
Tick.
Mosquito. Tom. Which TV policeman had the catchphrase evening all?
Dick Snipdog Green.
Correct. Time's up, and in that round, you won £1,000. You could, of course, have won £2,500. Who would you be better off without? One of you is about to leave with nothing. It's time to vote off the weakest link.
The weakest link statistically is Jo. Margaret is the strongest link, as she answered all her questions correctly and banked £500 for the team. But will the votes follow the facts?
Voting over, it's time to reveal who you think is the weakest link.
Peter.
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 Maria.
Ian.
Ian.
Ian, do you ever go abroad for your holidays?
Yes, I do.
Must be quite dodgy. In the last round, you didn't know the difference between a grasshopper and a stick insect, and this time you didn't know the difference between ticks and mosquitoes. Why Peter?
He got a couple wrong.
How many did you get
I
wrong?
know.
You can count then.
I'm an accountant.
Jo! There's no end to your knowledge, is there? Physics, chemistry, maths, English, politics, economics, philosophy, and cooking, and you still don't know what sort of acid is in a lemon. How do you think you did in that round?
I think I was as bad as Peter and Ian.
Well, statistically, actually, you were much worse than Peter. But it's votes that count. Peter, with 4 votes, you are the weakest link. Goodbye.
To be voted out at that stage, after being the strongest link in the first round, I feel a bit stitched up. Some of them were just as bad as me, and I was hoping that my previous round would actually see me through. I voted for Maria in that round because she got a couple wrong as well, and they were both answers that I knew straight away.
Round 3, team. And so far, you've won £2,200, which is less than half of the £5,000 you could have won by now. You're down to 6 players. We're taking another 10 seconds off the clock. We'll start with the strongest link from the last round. That's Margaret. Let's play the weakest link. Start the clock. Margaret. In biology, what E is a term meaning the study of the relationship between organisms and the environment?
Ecology.
Correct. Maria. What L is the part of a camera through which the light from the object being photographed reaches the film?
Lens.
Correct. Jo, in fashion, which dance shares its name with a fabric pattern of evenly spaced dots?
Polka.
Correct. Emma. In music, what P is a small, thin piece of hard material used to pluck a stringed instrument such as a guitar?
Pass.
Plectrum or pick? Ian. Is the town of Penzance in Devon or Cornwall?
Cornwall.
Correct. Tom. In food, which word normally follows sirloin and T-bone?
Steak.
Correct. Margaret. Which film musical shares its name with a baggage conveyor at an airport?
Carousel.
Correct. Maria. In literature, which Keith Waterhouse character was a habitual fibber?
Billy Liar.
Correct. Jo, in
Bang.
nature, which British bird can be great spotted or lesser spotted?
Owl.
Woodpecker. Emma, what was the title of the first Beatrix Potter book published in 1902?
Peter Rabbit.
The Tale of Peter Rabbit, but I'll accept Peter Rabbit. Ian, in UK politics, did John Major appoint Michael Portillo or Michael Heseltine as Deputy Prime Minister in July 1995?
Heseltine.
Correct. Tom, in terms of population, what is Spain's second largest city?
Barcelona.
Correct. Margaret, which English playwright wrote the black comedy Loot?
Joe Orton.
Correct. Maria, which football club moved from Plough Lane to their current home at Selhurst Park after the end of the 1990-1991 season?
Chelsea.
Wimbledon. Jo, what sort of animal is a Mustang?
A horse.
Correct. Emma. Is Balliol College at Oxford or Cambridge University?
Oxford.
Correct. Ian. In pop music, whose hits this year include The Way I Am and The Real Slim Shady?
Puff Daddy.
Eminem. Tom. The Italian language is directly descended from which language of the ancient Roman Empire?
Latin.
Correct. Margaret. John Sweeney is the new leader of which Scottish political party?
Scottish Nationalist.
Correct. Maria.
Blank.
In the TV detective series, what was the... The time is up and I cannot complete the question. And in that round, you managed to bank £800. Let me remind you, time matters, knowledge matters. You urgently need to dispatch any dunces. It's time to vote off the weakest link.
For the second round in a row, Margaret is the strongest link, having answered all her questions correctly, although Joe banked the most money. Emma is the weakest link statistically, but will the rest of the team have picked up on this?
Voting over, it's time to reveal who you think is the weakest link.
Ian.
Joe.
Emma.
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 Ian.
Ian, what was it you got wrong this time?
I think it was some pop question. Eminem.
Why Emma?
She's just, I think, faltering a little, that's all.
And how are you doing, Ian?
Solid as a rock.
Okay. Tom, why Emma?
Very, very close field, but the plectrum pluck question, there were two right answers. She didn't get either of them.
Margaret, how is it for you so far?
Not bad.
Keeping your head down?
Yes.
What did Emma do to upset you?
Well, she's not done anything to upset me. It's just I thought...
You want to get rid of her, though, don't you? Emma, statistically, you were the worst player, and with 3 votes, the team have voted you the weakest link. Goodbye.
I'm a teacher. Last time when I won the weakest link, my class were really pleased and they all watched the television programme. This time I think they're going to be a little bit more disappointed.
Round 4, you've banked £3,000 so far out of potential prize money of £7,500, so we are not fainting with admiration. There are 5 of you left. We are taking another 10 seconds off the clock. You now have only 2 minutes. We'll start with the strongest link from the last round. That's Margaret. Let's play the weakest link. Start the clock. Margaret, in nature, are weaver, army and pharaoh species of ant or beetle?
Ants.
Correct. Maria, the sun and all the celestial bodies which revolve around it are known as what?
Pass.
The solar system. Joe, what are formed when water from the Earth's surface evaporates and rises into the upper atmosphere?
Clouds.
Correct. Ian, Sandy Olsen and Danny Zuko are leading characters in which musical film?
Grease.
Correct. Tom, which American civil rights campaigner murdered in 1968 won the Nobel Peace Prize in 1964?
Martin Luther King.
Correct. Margaret, the hormone thyroxine is secreted from which gland in the human body?
Thyroid gland.
Correct. Maria, which
Bang.
Indian actress is well known for her vegetarian cookery books?
Madhur Jaffrey.
Correct. Joe, in fashion, name the long woolen footless socks which became popular during the 70s and 80s.
Leg warmers.
Correct. Ian, in music, from which English city did the bands The Stone Roses and The Happy Mondays originate?
Liverpool.
Manchester. Tom, in evolution, are humans more closely related to monkeys or lemurs?
2 monkeys.
Correct. Margaret, which 15th century king was blamed by Tudor historians for killing the boy princes in the Tower?
Richard III.
Correct. Maria, on which river did the rowing events in the 1900 Paris Olympics take place?
Seine.
Correct. Joe,
Bang.
in which Scandinavian country might you visit the Tivoli Gardens?
Denmark.
Correct. Ian, in chess, which piece is also the name of a common bird?
Rook.
Correct, Tom.
Bank.
In music, what T is the word used to describe the speed at which a piece of music is performed?
The tempo.
Correct, Margaret.
Bank.
Originating above the snow line in mountain regions, what G are the large sheets of ice which move slowly downhill?
Glaciers.
Correct, Maria. Operation Buckaroo and Mousetrap are all examples of what? Time's up. The correct answer was children's games, and in that round you banked a disappointing £850. Who is holding you back? It's time to vote off the weakest link.
Ian is the weakest link in this round. Maria banked the most money for the team, but statistically, Margaret is the strongest link, as she got the most questions right. But will the votes reflect the reality?
Voting over, it's time to reveal who you think is the weakest link.
Maria.
Maria.
Ian.
Maria.
Ian.
Ian, there's really no end to what you don't know, is there? I mean, confusion between M&M and Puff Daddies, grasshoppers from stick insects, and now Liverpool from Manchester. Why Maria?
Though I'm not doing great, I thought she was probably the weakest amongst us at that time.
Did you bank anything in that last round?
I don't think I really had the chance, to be honest.
Joe! What did Maria do to upset you?
She didn't do anything to upset me. I just noticed she got one question wrong. I'm not sure if anyone else did, but I certainly noticed her.
Oh, Ian did. Margaret, the rest of the team aren't really up to your standard, are they?
I think it's because you're asking questions that I know the answers to.
Well, that helps, I agree. Why Maria?
Well, I couldn't make up my mind, but I think she was the one that answered the most questions wrong.
Maria, with 3 votes, the team have decided you are the weakest link. Goodbye.
I'm disappointed because I wasn't the weakest link in that round. I think Ian should be here. He's been getting a few questions wrong each round, and he was the weakest link, so he should be here instead of me. I shouldn't have got the question about the solar system wrong. I knew the answer, but for some reason it just went out of my head and I just didn't say it.
Round 5. Your total in your kitty is £3,850. If you'd hit your targets, it would be £10,000, and you are allegedly champions. There are 4 of you left. Another 10 seconds is coming off the time. We start with the strongest link from the last round. That's Margaret. Let's play the weakest link. Start the clock. Margaret, in which US state is the resort of Atlantic City, New Hampshire or New Jersey?
New Jersey.
Correct, Joe. In biology, what name is given to a group of cells that are genetically identical to each other and derived from one parent cell?
Twins.
Clone. Ian, which is the only city in Egypt with an underground railway system?
Cairo.
Correct, Tom. In literature, which traveller did the Lilliputians call Man Mountain?
Lemuel Gulliver.
Correct. Margaret, in the rainbow, which colours come between orange and green?
Yellow.
Correct. Joe, in pop music, the Stilettos was the original name of which Debbie Harry group?
Blondie.
Correct. Ian, in which country are the ski resorts of Chamonix and Val d'Isère?
France.
Correct. Tom, in the human body, in which organ are the ventricles and the atria?
The heart.
Correct. Margaret, what architectural style is the Empire State Building in New York?
Modern.
Art Deco. Joe, in the film Billy Elliot, who plays the dance teacher Mrs. Wilkinson?
Pass.
Julie Walters. Ian, in which European country would you be if you were watching a football game at the San Siro Stadium?
Italy.
Correct. Tom, what is the name of the geographical test London cabbies have to pass?
The knowledge.
Correct. Margaret, in classical music, which water music composer was a favourite of King George I?
Handel.
Correct. Joe,
Bang.
in finance, shares which have a record of being safe and profitable are called blue what?
Chip.
Correct, Ian. In which dance do you put your left leg in, your left leg out, and shake it all about?
The hokey cokey.
Correct, Tom.
Bank.
In TV, who was the chairman of University Challenge before Jeremy Paxman?
Gascoigne.
Correct. Time's up, and in that round you did slightly better, team. You managed to bank £1,300, but I have to ask you, who is not worth their place? One of you is about to leave with nothing. It's time to vote off the weakest link.
For the first time in the game, Tom is the strongest link. He answered all his questions correctly and banked over £1,000 for the team. Jo is the weakest link statistically, as she got the most questions wrong. But how will the votes go?
Voting over, it's time to reveal who you think is the weakest link.
Ian.
Jo.
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 Ian. Why Jo?
I think the other two did fairly solidly. I think she was the one that missed the most.
Margaret, you actually gave your first wrong answer. Empire State.
I'm no good at architecture.
Why Jo?
Well, it's very difficult. She just seemed to get the most wrong, I think.
Right. Jo, the statistics show you were the worst player, and with 3 votes unanimously, the team have decided you are the weakest link. Goodbye.
The question about Julie Walters, I'm really kicking myself about because I'd seen it about 2 weeks ago and I knew her name and I could picture her face, but I just couldn't bring it to mind. It was really annoying. I think the team will actually probably vote out Tom next because I think they'll keep Ian in to the end.
Round 6, you have £5,150 out of the £12,500 you could have won, so there is huge scope for improvement. Just 3 of you left, another 10 seconds coming off the clock. We'll start with the strongest link from the last round, that's Tom. Let's play the weakest link. Start the clock. Tom, in history prior to the 1745 rebellion, which Bonnie Prince had never set foot in Scotland?
Charlie.
Correct. Margaret, according to British tradition, should spilt salt be thrown over the right or left shoulder?
Left.
Correct. Ian, in astronomy, the constellation Crux is known in English as the Southern what?
Light.
Cross. Tom, in theatre, what F is a piece of scenery consisting of a stretched canvas on a wooden frame?
I don't pass.
Flat. Margaret, in computing, for what does the acronym ROM stand?
Read-only memory.
Correct. Ian, in music, which band had hits in the 70s with the albums Animals and Wish You Were Here?
Rolling Stones.
Pink Floyd. Tom, former Blue Peter presenter Katie Hill can now be seen on which Saturday morning children's TV show?
Live and Kicking.
Correct. Margaret, which V is the longest river in Europe?
Volga.
Correct. Ian, which scientist famed for his theory of relativity turned down the presidency of Israel?
Einstein.
Correct. Tom.
Bank.
Which fashion designer was born Vivian Isabel Swire in Glossop, Derbyshire in 1941?
Vivian Westwood.
Correct. Margaret. The Baggies is one of the nicknames of which Midlands football club? Aston Villa or West Bromwich Albion?
West Brom.
Correct. Ian, who is comedian Victoria Wood's magician husband?
Don't know.
Jeffrey Durham. Tom, which American songwriter's best-known works include I've Got You Under My Skin and I Get a Kick Out of You?
Cole Porter.
Correct. Margaret,
Bang.
in textiles, taffeta and shartung were traditionally made using which natural fibre?
Silk.
Time's up. That was the correct answer. And in that round, team, you banked a disappointing £250. Now, in round 7, you get the chance to double what you bank, and that means in the next round, there's £5,000 to be won. The question is, who is least likely to get that bank balance up? It's time to vote off the weakest link.
For the 4th time in the game, Margaret is the strongest link, the only player to answer all her questions correctly. Ian is the weakest link. He only got 1 question right. But at this crucial stage in the game, how will the votes go?
Voting over, it's time to reveal who you think is the weakest link.
Tom.
Ian.
Ian.
Tom. Why Ian?
Sadly, he was dropping points in that round.
Margaret, why Ian?
I think he answered more wrong.
Ian. M&M, Puff Daddy, Stone Roses, Happy Mondays, Pink Floyd, Rolling Stones. They're all much of a muchness to you, are they not?
Yes, such is the lot of a Radio 4 listener, I'm afraid.
And such is the lot of someone who was statistically the worst player and who, with 2 votes, the team have voted the weakest link. Ian, goodbye.
I do feel lucky to have stayed in this far. I got a lot of votes in the prior rounds and just seemed to hang in there by the skin of my teeth for several rounds on the trot. I think it was just a matter of time.
Round 7. So far, you have in the bank £5,400. You could, by now, have won £15,000. Margaret and Tom, just the 2 of you left, and this time you have 90 seconds. But whatever you win in this round will be doubled and added to your total to make up your final prize money. So, £5,000 is at stake in this round. We'll start with the strongest link from the last round, that's Margaret. Let's play the weakest link. Start the clock. Margaret, in which film did Robert De Niro, playing the part of a boxer, win the Academy Award for Best Actor in 1981?
Rocky.
Raging Bull. Tom, in maths, what is 909 divided by 9?
101.
Correct. Margaret, in which central English city would you find the Haymarket Theatre and De Montfort University?
Leicester.
Correct. Tom, in literature, Holden Caulfield is the hero of which classic novel by J.D. Salinger?
The Catcher in the Rye.
Correct. Margaret, in 1957, in which city were the treaties which set up the original European Economic Community signed? Rome or Geneva?
Rome.
Correct. Tom,
Bank.
in which decade was the English Grand National Horse Race first televised?
The 1950s.
1960s. Margaret, which British comedian used the catchphrase, "Titter ye not"?
Frankie Howard.
Correct. Tom, who is Cherie Blair's actor father?
Tony Booth.
Correct. Margaret, St George's Chapel stands opposite the car park of Terminal 2 at which London airport?
Heathrow.
Correct. Tom, in American sport, which game is started by a jump ball in the centre circle?
Basketball.
Correct. Margaret,
Bank.
in music, which instrument used to accompany the guitar are often played by Spanish flamenco dancers?
Castanets.
Correct. Tom,
Bang.
famed for the expression "not tonight," who married Emperor Napoleon in 1796?
Josephine.
Correct. Margaret,
Bang.
which wildflower has a name meaning lion's tooth in French?
Dandelion.
Correct. Tom, in film, who co-stars with Michelle Pfeiffer in the current film thriller What Lies Beneath?
Harrison Ford.
That was the correct answer, but time was up and you didn't make it to £2,500. You actually won £1,100. Never mind, we'll double that and add it to the winnings from the previous rounds. That means total prize money this evening of £7,600. But of course, only one of you can take that money away. So now you will be playing against each other head to head. I'll ask alternate questions. It's the best of 5. Whoever answers the most questions correctly wins. It's as simple as that. If there's a tie after 5 questions each, we'll go for sudden death until we have a winner. So, Margaret and Tom, for £7,600, let's play the weakest link. Margaret, as the strongest link in the last round, you have the choice of who goes first.
Can I go first, please?
Margaret, in cooking, what type of pastry is used to make profiteroles?
Choux.
That is the correct answer. Tom, a statue of which British tennis player stands near the gates at Wimbledon which bear his name?
Fred Perry.
That is the correct answer. Margaret, which TV quiz title did London taxi driver Fred Housego win in 1980?
Mastermind.
That is the correct answer. Tom, the name of which German city means home of monks?
Is it Hamburg?
The correct answer is Munich. Margaret, which bodybuilder who made his name prior to World War II claimed he was once a £97 weakling?
Charles Atlas.
That is the correct answer. Tom. In literature, Pandora Braithwaite was the girlfriend of which fictional diarist?
Adrian Mole.
That is the correct answer. Just let me remind you, you are playing for £7,600, but only one of you can take that money away. Margaret. In Britain, which black country town is noted for its zoo in the grounds of its Norman castle?
Warwick.
The correct answer is Dudley. Tom, if you answer this question correctly, you draw level. Which card trading game is linked with the phrase, "Gotta catch 'em all"?
Poker.
The correct answer is Pokemon. Margaret, if you answer this question correctly, then you have won. Which is the only one of the 5 English classic horse races not to have been won by a horse owned by the Queen?
Grand National.
The correct answer is the Derby. Tom, you have another opportunity to remain in the game. In religion, the biblical dancer who asked for John the Baptist's head is traditionally known by which name?
I don't know if I've got the pronunciation right. It's Salome or Salome.
That is the correct answer. After 5 questions, we have a tie, so we now go into a sudden death situation. The questions will continue in pairs. Margaret, if you get your question correct, then Tom will have to answer his correctly or he'll lose. And Margaret, if you get your question wrong, then Tom will have to answer his correctly to win. So, Margaret and Tom, let's play sudden death. Margaret. Lupine describes which pack animal now extinct in the wild in Britain?
Wolf.
That is the correct answer. Tom. On which TV programme do Sergeant Bash, Dead Metal and Sir Killalot regularly appear?
It's Robot Wars.
That is the correct answer. Margaret. Which jewel has a Persian name meaning mountain of light?
Kohinoor.
That is the correct answer. Tom, you need to answer this question correctly to stay in the game, or Margaret takes home the £7,600. What first name did the actress Kate Winslet give to her baby girl who was born in October this year?
Is it Amber?
The correct answer is Mia.
Well done.
That means, Margaret, you are tonight's strongest link and you go away with £7,600. Tom, you leave with nothing. Join us again for the weakest link. Goodbye.
At the beginning, I thought I should have won, and then I realised just what a strong contestant Margaret was.
I've never seen a cheque like that in my life, ever. And it's even better than the last time I won.